Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome tonight to WRC's Tuesday Division, and we are here for a pretty different race. This is the Reverse British Grand Prix. My name is Jack. I'm your commentator, bringing you the action tonight from a sunny Silverstone, and it is 21 drivers, 17 and a half minutes of qualifying as they all look to fight for pole position. It's definitely not one of those tracks that the drivers will be very used to, as the reverse British orientation not really used in league racing, so it'll be very interesting to see how the drivers take to this track. Could we maybe have a shock winner, a shock pole position taker, or will it be the standard running that we are used to seeing here in the WRC's Tuesday Division? Good evening to Jay, Noah, we've got Kian in the chat as well, and everyone very excited for this qualifying session. We're just waiting for the drivers out of the pit lane. Looks like TTV Kian is having some action in the garage, potentially getting himself out onto the track at some point. Does look like the Cadillac driver is coming out. Looks like we've also got a Red Bull that's just coming out into the pit lane. Then Kian on the medium compound tyres. Interestingly enough, the Red Bull coming out. We've also got a V-Carb out into the pit lane as well. So qualifying kicks off. Noah saying there's going to be rain in the race, so that will definitely shake things up. We already know that the reverse track layout is going to be very different to what most people know. Well, with a bit of rain as well, it could be quite hectic, quite chaotic in this race. As I mentioned, Kian, the first man out on medium tyres. I wonder if Kian maybe knows something that the other 20 drivers do not in this session. We've got Lufel out there for Red Bull, Humbled for V-Carb, Drew for Williams, Blake for Alpine, and many drivers now hitting the track to take to their first qualifying laps. There are a lot of corners that are very difficult around here. Jay in the chat saying he thinks Danny on pole, 3 DNFs. Milk's going to win the race with Blake in second and Mikey in third. What are my predictions? It's a very good question. As I say, I think there is a chance that maybe things get shaken up in this race because of the different layout. Obviously, you have to look at the drivers' standings. It's currently Danny, Meloon, and Mikey that are currently the top 3. It's going to be hard to say that they won't be up there. We've also got Solar up there as well, but Solar, from what I can see, not racing tonight, so that will open it up for other people. Matt Connor has also been very good. I don't know if I can see Matt Connor either. I'm relatively sure. Yes, I am looking at the Tuesday standings here. So a few people not able to make the race tonight. If I had to give you an early guess, for me, you've obviously got to tip people like Mikey and Milk towards the podium, haven't you? And then, you know, we've got people like UFRL Woody who are very quick. Nova Piper is very quick. Best Noah also very quick. Obviously, Danny, championship leader, has to be up there. It's a bit boring, but if I had to give you a prediction for the podium, I would have said Danny, Milk, Mikey, in my honest opinion. Kian has invalidated his first attempt, so we now look to Lufel, who has used all his battery and is actually getting overtaken by Humbled on his qualifying lap. So Humbled, I believe, will be the first driver to set a valid lap time, if he is to set a valid lap time. Through Copse Corner we go, backwards, which can be very difficult, very easy to run wide and out onto the grass there. Humbled has avoided that particular moment as we now go into Luffield and then all the way around into Brooklands. Luffield is so long. It's such a long corner when you're doing it normally, but when you're doing it backwards, it feels like it never ends. Luffield, it's very difficult, and I must say it's very difficult to remember the corner names when you're going backwards. I believe this is Farm, or is this Farm? It's very confusing, and you can imagine I'm not even driving here. I'm the one that sat here talking about what they're doing. So for the drivers, this must be very difficult. Humble does come to the line. It's a 1 minute 30.0 for him. Lufel with a 35.3, and Drew Larrard goes to the top with a 28.7. Blake usurps that with a 28.2. Macho Wings into third with a 29.8 as Tesco Mildeals now goes to the top with a 27.8. There's TMS Milk with a 27.3, quite clear at the top, as you would expect from TMS Milk. Woody goes into fourth with a 28.4. And it is relatively close, it must be said, even in the early runnings. Let's look at F1 Mikey Boy, who's just going on to his lap. What of Danny F31? I imagine that is not a competitive lap time for Danny, a 1 minute 36.1. Definitely not the true Danny pace that we're used to. Best Noah goes into third with a 28.1. We're watching F1 Mikey Boy then, as he makes his way towards, what do we call it, Beckett's and Maggots now instead of Maggots and Beckett's. Is definitely not what I'd like to call it. Ferrari for Life, I believe, has a qualifying ban, so has retired from the qualifying session as Mikey heads into Cops backwards. No trouble of running wide for him. No battery for Mikey though. How much is that going to cost him as he makes his way towards Luffield? Danny is just in behind him. What of Meloon as well? Meloon's still in the pit lane for Cadillac. He's currently second in the Drivers' World Championship. Mikey getting a tow here from his Alpine teammate of Blake. And these two been working very well in recent times. I believe it was last week that Blake had a qualifying ban, helped Mikey with the slipstream, and that ultimately gave Mikey a shot at pole position. Here comes Mikey then, round the final couple of corners. Can Mikey try and get himself towards the front of the field using all his battery, and goes third with a 1 minute 27.8. Danny goes into fourth with a 1 minute 27.9. Samuel then splits the two championship protagonists with a 1 minute 27.8, only 7 milliseconds off of F1 Mikey Boy's lap. And this is very, very close between everyone, as Muller has invalidated his lap. Sidemen just going through Luffield. Meloon's on his outlap now. Jonathan 08 is coming towards Cops. We've got Nova Piper, who's just coming into the final couple of corners then, so we'll stick with the Mercedes-Benz driver. And what can he do from, well, he's currently 22nd, obviously has not set a lap thus far in this session. We'll set a lap now then. And Nova Piper doesn't set a lap. I wonder if he may be invalidated through the final couple of corners there, as we're now on board with the McLaren of Jonathan, and Red Bull very close to impeding the McLaren there, but he looks to have got through completely fine. The McLaren driver giving it everything for McLaren, last year's Constructors World Champions in real Formula 1. Can they maybe try and replicate that today? Samuel currently in P4. Jonathan goes up to P12 with a 1 minute 29.2. Sidemen, I don't believe, set the lap that we saw him on. He's just coming through the final couple of corners now. So we'll see what Sidemen can do for Aston Martin. Can he maybe get himself into the top 10? He's normally quite close knit with Nova Piper. So I wonder how close will those two be as Sidemen comes towards the line then. He crosses the line now and goes P15 with a 1 minute 30.2. So what of Meloon then, who's just coming into Luffield, second in the World Championship. He's got his two title rivals, Mikey and Danny, in third and fifth. Needs to try and get a bit closer to that pair to try and get that championship fight well and truly on. We are in the second half of the season now. Jay in the chat asking if I've driven this. I have driven the reverse Silverstone circuit, I believe once or twice. I've not really driven F126, to be honest. So I can't say for certain, but I do believe I've driven it a couple of times. It's very fun. It is very difficult, as I'm sure Meloon is thinking as he crosses the line and goes into second with a 1 minute 27.7. That is a huge lap from Meloon. F1 Mikey Boy, is he pushing? It doesn't look like it. Not using any battery at the moment down this straight. Might be saving for the next lap. And that is a very big lap from Meloon to get himself up into second. Although TMS Milk very far clear of the rest of the field. 5/10 quicker than Meloon. 6/10 quicker than Tesco Mildews, who's having a great showing in qualifying at the minute. Currently in P3. Milk on his outlap. Tesco on his outlap. Most drivers, or a lot of drivers, shall I say, coming into the pit lane to change their tyres as Tesco approaches his next lap. Got some yellow flags down towards Luffield. That will just be drivers slowing down for other drivers on fast laps. As Tesco makes his way through Stowe Corner, opens up the straight mode using the battery. He has a car ahead of him, I'm sure, that will get out of the way. I believe that's a Williams ahead of the Scuderia Ferrari. It is a Williams, and Tesco is round, needs to keep it out the barrier here and does so. But Tesco Mildeals pushing on as hard as possible, looking to try and get himself onto the front row ahead of Meloon, or maybe even try and usurp Milk. The grip just falling away from him. And Tesco having to abort that lap then after going into the gravel. So what of TMS Milk then as he makes his way towards Stowe Corner? The Red Bull politely gets out of the way. Milk sets on to his second flying lap of the session. Towards Beckett's and Maggots we go. This is where Tesco had his moment, manages to avoid that particular incident. You can see the gravel on the track. Will that be affecting the grip levels through Maggots? As towards Cops we go then. With TMS Milk. No danger of running it wide. He's getting a little slipstream here, sorry. From the car ahead of him. I wonder, is that his teammate? No, it's not. It's the Mercedes of, I believe, UFRL Woody. Milk making his way through the final sector then. He's got, I believe that's an Aston Martin ahead of him. That will be Daryl, who might be on a lap at the moment. Although it looks like he's saving battery. Daryl with a little bit of a moment ahead. This will be harming TMS Milk's lap. But Daryl is on a lap himself, I believe, so has no obligation to get out of the way. TMS Milk towards the final corner. Can he improve on his last lap? Yes, he can. It's a 1 minute 27.1 for TMS Milk. Now 6 tenths clear, over 6 tenths clear of Meloon. Daryl went into P19 with that lap. Tesco, I believe, pushing once more towards Cop's Corner. He now goes, giving it everything to try and reduce that deficit between himself and the Audi. The Ferrari driver into Luffield he goes, and on board you can just see how long this corner is. Constantly waiting to get the power down and keep it all the way left as you make your way through Brooklands past the BRDC clubhouse. And now the shortest sector of them all to go. Where can he put that Ferrari car? It's currently in third, a very strong result already. But we'll be looking for that about half a tenth improvement he needs. But is coming into box, was not improving on that lap. So what of F1 Mikey Boy then? He's got his teammate right ahead of him. I don't think slipstream is the best way to do it through Maggots and Beckett's. That will only give you dirty air. And I wonder if that may harm Mikey's lap as he comes through Cop's Corner and now racing towards Luffield. Down the old pit straight we go. We will see the Sector 2 split flash up when he crosses the line. He's now got, I believe that's the V carb ahead of him. Gets the straight mode open once more. He's 10th up on this lap. So this would take him towards P3, potentially even P2. Has one sector to still negotiate. The V carb gets out of the way then. And F1 Mikey Boy pushing on to get onto the front row. Milk looks untouchable. Mikey comes into the pit lane. Samuel has invalidated. So what of Best Noah then? Doesn't look like he's on a lap at the minute. MUFC Joe is not on a lap. He's invalidated. Blake just going on to his lap, as is... Well, no, I believe Jonathan's just set his lap and gone into P11 with a 1 minute 28.5. Looks like Humboldt is on an in-lap as well. Muller has invalidated. Macho Wings and Sidemen are in the pit lane. Looks like Daryl may be pushing as he makes his way through Cop's Corner. Let's go Mildeals coming out for his final run in this session. And Daryl pushing on for Aston Martin. Has not raced for a while, Daryl, I don't believe. So making somewhat of a comeback. Currently sat in P19 behind his teammate as well. Not where you'd want to be. I say it all the time. Probably every broadcast now. Rule number 1 of Formula 1. Beat your teammate. And Daryl struggling to do that at the moment. Has one more sector to go of this reverse Silverstone orientation. He is going to complete this lap. No, he's going to abort at last minute and dive into the pit lane. But this will be touch and go whether he gets another lap or not. Meloon and Tesco on their outlaps. We will stick with Tesco. He's going to be the first of the big... Really, the big... I mean, I can't even narrow that down. The big 9? I mean, TMS Milk is very clear. And then from second all the way down to 9th, there's only 3 tenths in it. It is very, very close in qualifying here, ladies and gentlemen. And any sort of improvement, you know, Best Noah, even MUFC Joe, that's currently sat in 9th, a 2/3 improvement. And he'd find himself on the front row of the grid. It is so close here. As Tesco Mildeals makes his way onto his final lap then for Scuderia Ferrari. Last one around this circuit, well, this year, with Charles Leclerc. Before that, it was Carlos Sainz in, I believe, 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Meloon also on his lap as well. TMS Milk still in the pit lane. So I believe that is the last we've seen of TMS Milk in this session. Has got a big buffer, 6 tenths clear of the rest of the field. But Meloon, Tesco, F1 Mikey Boy, Danny, Woody, Noah and Joe will all get the chance to reply. Looks like we've seen the best of Samuel as well. He is still in the pit lane. Yellow flags out on track. That's for people letting faster drivers by. It's Tesco Mildeals then. Towards the final sector we go. Is there to be improvement? Woody goes into second place with a 27.5. And that's a big improvement from the Mercedes driver. So Tesco now looking to fight away with Woody, who's currently in second. It looks like Tesco may have backed out of this. He has backed out of this and will be going on another lap. There is time for it. So it's now down to Meloon, who is still pushing. Currently second in the Drivers' World Championship. Needs a 2/10 improvement to get back ahead of Woody. Round the final corner comes Meloon for a Cadillac team that are doing well. And he does get back up into second. A 27.5 for Meloon. So what of Tesco Mildews then? What of F1 Mikey Boy as he makes his way towards Maggots and Beckett's? 79 milliseconds up through the first sector. Will not be getting the slipstream from his teammate on this lap. So it is all down to his own devices if he wants to try and snatch second place away. Milk retires from the session as there's a car on the racing line there. That was very close to contact. Luckily, the Red Bull knew that Mikey was coming and jumped up out of the way at the last second. But did that maybe put Mikey off it a little bit? Through Brooklands he comes then, past the BRDC clubhouse, gets past the Williams that's on the grass. He's 36 milliseconds down. And in the shortest sector of them all, Mikey has got it all to do here. Needs 80 milliseconds to beat Tesco. Then needs about 3 tenths to get himself towards the fight on the front row, and he's ran wide and onto the grass, and that is qualifying over for F1 Mikey Boy. Tesco will be able to set another lap. What can the Ferrari driver do? It doesn't really look like he's pushing, to be honest. Got plenty of battery. He's not pushing. Meloon, his session is done as well. Samuel did come out and is currently about 3 tenths up on this lap. Danny is just coming towards the final sector, and he is also up on his lap. So Danny has the opportunity to try and get onto the front row. It looks like pole position is too far gone at this point, but here comes Danny then, the championship leader, towards the line. He gets to third, milliseconds off of Meloon. But now we've still got Samuel, who was 2.5 tenths up through the Sector 2 split. What is it for Samuel as he makes the same mistake as Mikey and runs onto the grass? And that is surely going to be lap over for the McLaren driver. Qualifying is over. Samuel stays in 7th place. Blake stays 8th. Jonathan for McLaren currently in 11th. Nova Piper is currently in 13th. Kian stays in 20th. So it's all down to Nova Piper then. But TMS Milk, it looks like it's going to be quite the easy pole position for him. Nova burning battery to the line, runs onto the grass and stays 13th as Jonathan comes into the pit lane then. So for TMS Milk, it is a glorious day out in Silverstone. 4 tenths clear of Meloon. And in the championship fight, Meloon, second in the championship, will start second in this race. Danny in third, our championship leader. Mikey with that mistake on the final lap. But look how close that is, ladies and gentlemen, between all of the drivers, really from second all the way down to 10th. Only a few tenths covering them, ladies and gentlemen. This, I'm sure, is going to be a chaotic race. The reverse Silverstone Grand Prix is up next. Onto the formation lap we go, ladies and gentlemen, and as you can see, it is wet. Intermediate tyres for everyone on the grid. Jay in the chat saying, JP, how do you feel when people glaze Jack's comms? You think you're better? I presume you're on about Jack Crossley when you ask that question, Jay. As Meloon lining up in second, then Milk not part of the championship fight, I don't believe. Let's take a quick look at the standings. TMS Milk currently in 18th in the championship, so really not gonna be troubling the championship contenders, but could get in their way by winning this race. And I mean, you've got Meloon and Danny lining up right next to each other. They're the top two in the championship. Mikey in 6th place. And I'm sure Mikey will want to have something of a comeback, make up for that mistake in qualifying. Solar and Matt Connor not here. Zumi also not here. So that's 4th, 5th and 6th in the championship not here tonight. Blake is currently 7th in the championship, starts 10th. And if this couldn't be any more chaotic, a reverse race, most people won't have driven this track much. And making it wet as well. Both are amazing commentators in their own right. We're grateful we have such a good commentary team. I appreciate that. I assume that's Ollie in the chat. I appreciate that, Ollie. Again, you know, I mean, I didn't really answer your question, Jay. I assumed you were on about Jack Crossley, but I didn't know. I honestly am very happy that Jack commentates for WRC and other leagues in F1 League Racing as well. If it was only me, I wouldn't have any competition. And I'm a very competitive person. So I like to watch Jack's comms and see what he does differently to me and maybe learn from him a little bit. So there's, you know, there's friendly competition, I would say. I'm, you know, at the end of the day, Jack, I'm not going to call it glaze. Jack deserves the credit he gets. He deserves the praise that he gets. He's a very, very good commentator. You know, there is a lot of good commentators in F1 League Racing, and it's all for the better. You know, me and Jack Crossley can't commentate every Formula 1 League race. We've got to have other people. And it's nice to learn from other people, you know, and sometimes when we do the co-commentary together and whatnot, it's very, very fun. But tonight, we're here for the Reverse Silverstone Grand Prix. The cars line up on intermediate tyres. This is going to be a race full of fireworks. Milk on pole, the two championship leaders, second and third. And it's lights out, and away we go. It looks like some slow starts for a lot of people. TMS Milk gets away well from pole position. Meloon looking to try and challenge, though. Samuel up into third place. Danny in fourth. F1 Mikey Boy not had the greatest start, as we see some carbon fiber confetti flying around as multiple drivers off the road there. One of those being Blake in the Alpine. A terrible start for Tesco Meal Deals, down to 11th place. Looks like Daryl's had a great start up into 9th, as Best Noah has been disqualified for not moving off of the line. Meloon looking very racy early on against TMS Milk. Samuel with a great start. We'll look at the position change quickly. As you can see, big gainers on that opening lap. Ferrari for Life up 8 places. We've got Daryl up 6 places. Big losers, Blake down to 19th. Tesco Meal Deals down to 11th. We don't need the tyre information. We know everyone is on inters. But Milk now running clear. Already a second ahead of Meloon. There's no overtake mode in the rain. It's too dangerous, let's say. So no overtake mode. There's no... As there, Danny and Joe fighting away very hard. Danny really not giving Joe much room. And that's going to allow F1 Mikey Boy to try and attack, but it looks like Joe in the Haas a little bit quicker in a straight line. And Mikey just has to back out of it now, looking towards the inside for a little dive bomb. That forces Joe to go for a move on Danny, and this is getting very, very spicy early on. There's Jay in the chat saying, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Ferrari for Life world champion or constructors world champion? I think he was both, be completely honest. As TMS Milk leads from lap 1 then. Meloon in second place, keeping Milk within touching distance. But Milk looking comfortable. Samuel about a second off of him. Danny falling back off the top 3, and it looks like we've got a little scrap opening up here between Danny, Joe, Mikey and Woody. And Meloon, I'm sure, will be very happy with the start of this race, gaining points on both Danny and Mikey. Meloon on 146 points, and we've got Danny on 159, so they are not far away from each other at all. Noah saying, see you, JP. I don't know what went on there. I got disconnected, took control. It's honestly, it's just EA. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, Noah, there'll be plenty more races to come, my friend. Have a good night, Noah. Take care of yourself. Milk continues to lead then. It looks like through the middle sector, Milk is very, very quick. And then in the final sector, Meloon starts to gain back a little bit of time on the Audi driver. We've got Danny in 4th place, who is still falling off the back of Samuel, Meloon and Milk. Joe currently riding in 5th. He's got Mikey right behind him. It's UFRL Woody, if I could speak English, in 7th, about a second shy of this fight. Ferrari for Life making a great comeback so far. I believe started 22nd up into 10th place for the Haas driver. So he is doing very well at the moment, while one Haas is fighting for 5th, the other right on the back of Nova Piper and looking to try and take 9th place away from him. He is gaining towards the back of the Mercedes, looking towards the inside. No gap opening up into turn 1 though. And it's getting very close between McLaren, Mercedes and Haas. Meanwhile ahead, as Nova Piper maybe has a look on the McLaren into Stowe corner. As we go down the Wellington Straight then. No, this isn't the Wellington Straight, is it? I always get the straights mixed up at Silverstone, as Meloon already gets a 3-second penalty, and we are only on the 3rd lap of this race. Nova Piper and Ferrari for Life fighting away. Nova Piper manages to stay in 9th for the time being, as Daryl has made his way into the pit lane. And was that maybe for a new front wing? We did see some carbon fiber confetti down at turn 1. And I wonder if that was maybe a bit of Darrell's front wing that went walkabouts as we made our way into the first turn. Lap 3 of 26 then, nearing lap 4. TMS Milk is your leader from pole position. Meloon not letting himself get dropped. But with that penalty, that's not going to be easy to try and fight with as Danny looks down the inside of Joe, who's got the better traction coming out the corner. It looks like the Haas driver. Joe looking very quick in a straight line. Danny not able to get the move done. Now looking for the move down the main straight and towards turn 1. He is gaining. Just has to back out of it though, and that allows Mikey round the outside. The 2 championship protagonists giving it everything through turn 1 and 2. Mikey just has to concede 5th place for the time being as Zaney picks up a 10-second time penalty for exceeded track limits, and that would really throw the bait that he's just completely cut over the road. And that's definitely not something you see often, as Mikey still gaining on Danny. And this battle getting very spicy, and all this is doing is letting the likes of Samuel, Meloon and Milk run away with this. Jay in the chat saying going normal way around, start finish Hamilton straight, after T5 Wellington straight, after Magnus Hanger straight. Yes, I know the names of them. Honestly, I'm not used to the Hamilton straight yet. I can't call it the Hamilton straight. To me, I don't know why, I can't. It's the main straight to me. I always get the Wellington straight and the Hanger straight mixed up, and I never know what one it is. So thank you very much for that info, Jay. As Best Noah says, can't wait for tomorrow. What track is it again? Are you on about my league, Noah? Are you on about Redline? If you are, it's Silverstone, conveniently enough. The gap between Meloon and Milk, 1.3 seconds then. And as you can see, Meloon looks a little bit quicker in the final sector, but in the first and the middle part of the lap, Milk just seems to pull away a little bit. As Samuel currently in 3rd. Noah saying, oh, same as now, but the right way. Yes, exactly. Not the reverse orientation, the correct orientation of the Silverstone circuit. Jay, I will invite you. Don't worry, my friend. I'll invite you after this race. As Mikey and Danny still fight away. Joe has actually pulled a bit of a gap on Danny in the last lap or 2. And that is only going to leave the likes of Danny and Mikey to fight away more. Lufel gets a 3-second time penalty. He's currently running in 20th behind his teammate Zaney, who has that 10-second penalty for corner cutting. We're on board with F1 Mikey Boy at the moment, as Ferrari for life gets up into 9th place then, past Humbled, who is presumably disconnected from the session. I do believe I have Humbled added, so we'll quickly try and invite him back. If I do have him added, I don't, unfortunately, so hopefully someone can try and invite Humbled back to the session, as Samuel still keeping Meloon under a bit of pressure as well. Samuel doing a great job in the minute of keeping 3rd place and sticking with Meloon at this moment in time. Joe looking to try and gain back towards the front 3 after his scrap with Danny and Mikey. Woody's also involved as well, just behind them. Ferrari for life finally gets past Nova Piper and up into 8th. Now has 4.5 seconds to try and get to the back of Woody as Jonathan and Drew do battle. Looks like Drew's going to win out that fight. Jonathan going to send it back down the inside. The McLaren driver doesn't have the grip though, and Drew moves up into 11th as Samuel now picks up a 3-second time penalty. We'll keep the penalty screen up. Looks like quite a few people are getting penalties as Tesco goes through on Humbled. I wonder what happened to Tesco at the start of this race, as he was starting quite a way up the grid and just did not get off the line really at all. is down in 12th place and doesn't really seem to have the pace to make anything of a comeback, as Humboldt does get back into the session. That's what we like to see. As F1 Mikey Boy now all over the back of Danny F31. 0.3 of a second, the gap between them as they go through Copse Corner. And you can see Mikey just looks like he's got much more grip, little bit onto the grass. That's not going to unsettle the car too much though. Looking towards Luffield is Mikey. Gonna make a send down the inside later on the brakes, but decides not to go for it. But he is putting Danny under all sorts of pressure at this moment in time, and Danny, I'm sure, will not be enjoying this, seeing the Alpine all over his rear view mirrors. Lap 6 of 26 we are currently on. Looks like it's going to be raining for the entirety of this Grand Prix. I'm sure we will have a pit stop phase. The inters typically don't last too long. Jay asking, are the races still at 6 PM? If you're asking about my league, yes they are, Jay. Noah saying at the start of the race, by the way, JP, it said rain is stopping around lap 16 to 17. Very interesting. We saw the tyre graphic of the predicted strategies and it said inter to inter. But if the rain is to stop in around 10 laps time, we definitely should be going onto dry Pirellis. The gap between Meloon and TMS Milk now 2.5 seconds. Samuel really gaining on the back of Meloon. Samuel may be looking to try and snatch second place away, because as things stand at the minute, yes, Meloon and Samuel have penalties. But with Joe being 5 seconds behind, that's not going to trouble them at all. Joe, 2.5 seconds ahead of Danny, who's got Mikey all over the back of him and looking towards the outside line as we make our way towards Luffield Corner. Can Mikey try and dart out from the slipstream and make a move? He's going down the inside. Is F1 Mikey Boy. Can he make this move stick though? That now turns to the outside line of Brooklands. Very hard to keep the grip around here, around the outside line. And Danny does defend that well. Great racing from the pair of them. And Danny holds on to 5th place. And I'm sure Woody is looking at this battle, licking his lips, just waiting for a little bit of contact or a moment where someone runs wide. As Mikey and Danny taking very different lines. Milt sets a new fastest lap of the race. And Samuel getting very close to the back of Meloon. I do believe if things were to stay as they were, Meloon would take the lead of the Drivers' Championship, with Danny currently in 5th and Meloon currently in 2nd. So Meloon will be giving it everything to try and hold on to that 2nd place. But Samuel is going to look to try and take that away from him. Towards Beckett's we go. And Samuel just not able to get through at the moment. Jay in the chat saying crazy to think Milk is dominating like that at 15. And that is the crazy thing about TMS Milk. He's only a kid. He has got a long way to go in Formula 1 League Racing, and I would not be surprised if we see this man lingering towards F1 Esports in the next couple of years. TMS Milk. Most of the time that he races in WRC, it is dominant performances. And Milk absolutely flying. Zaney gets another 10-second penalty for corner cutting. Now on 20 seconds. I wonder what is going on with the Red Bull driver, as Samuel still putting Meloon under pressure. This is currently the closest fight on track. We've also got Sidemen versus Macho Wings. The gap between them, 2.5 tenths. As Milk once again sets a new fastest lap of the race, only getting quicker as we've got a yellow flag. That's for Zaney, who has been off the road somewhere through Maggots and Beckett's. His Sidemen gonna look for a move to the inside, thinks about it, doesn't get the opportunity. Is on to lap 9 of 26 we go then. And Samuel still charging after Meloon. And Yanka in the chat saying, I'm Macho Wing's strategist for the race and have his stream up. Blake shoved off Sidemen on the exit of Beckett's and Maggots. Blake currently running in 16th. Says, look at Samuel round the outside of Maggots and Beckett's. Forced onto the sausage curb though. Has to back out of it. But that is the first sign of a move we've seen between Samuel and Meloon. And Samuel looking very, very brave to go for a move at that particular part of the circuit. It didn't work out. But that was a very bold place to go for an overtake. And Meloon, I'm sure, will be shocked just as much as we are that the McLaren driver has gone for an overtake there. F1 Mikey Boy still stuck behind Danny at the moment, who is gaining towards Joe again, interestingly enough. So this 2-car fight might be about to come a 3-car fight, as Woody is just falling off the back of that fight now as well. We will look towards Blake, who apparently has shoved Sidemen off. Macho Wings currently in 17th place. I would imagine one of the only drivers in this race with a strategist. How much will that be helping the V-Carb driver? Lap 10 of 26. And TMS Milk leading by 6 seconds. But who will he be leading from as we make our way down the next straight? Meloon versus Samuel. Samuel is gaining in the slipstream of the Cadillac, looking towards the inside line. Not able to get the straight line speed he would have wanted. Taking a much wider line though. That's going to give him a better exit. Looking much quicker through this complex of corners. Can he try and make a move towards Cop's corner? Meloon defending very, very well, but surely it's only a matter of time as Meloon has a little bit of a moment through Cops. Now here comes Samuel. Meloon just looking a little bit quicker in a straight line. Is Samuel going to try it down the inside? Meloon leaves the door open. Samuel says, no, thank you. I will wait for a better opportunity, as Danny is now right behind Joe. Mikey is right behind Danny. And this is very, very close. Joe pulled the gap on Danny, but now evidently struggling with tyres or made a mistake somewhere. And Danny now right back with the Haas driver. The Williams really pushing on as Samuel still right behind Meloon as we look towards turn 1. On to lap 11 of 26 we go. Is Samuel able to get through? Meloon has a moment. That's going to invite Samuel down the inside. Can the McLaren driver try and get through? That now turns to the outside line. He's got the grip. He goes onto the grass though, and that's going to allow Meloon to have the momentum and cover off the inside line into Stowe corner. But the wider line will give Samuel a better exit. Has a bit of a tank slapper in the middle of the corner. Manages to catch that. Meloon quicker in a straight line though. Samuel not able to get the pressure on as much as he would like. But that is getting very close between Samuel and Meloon. Both of them fighting to keep the car on track as Danny and Joe do battle through. I believe that's Beckett's. Joe with the better line manages to keep the position as Samuel once again looking at Meloon into Cop's corner. Will get the better exit and towards Luffield we go then. Can Samuel maybe think about a move towards the inside line? He looks. And once again, the door just not open enough. But Samuel and Meloon really going for this. Both of them with armfuls of opposite lock at nearly every corner. Danny finally gets through on Joe and up into 4th place. F1 Mikey Boy now looking for the opportunist move and gets it. And that is a big move for F1 Mikey Boy, who has been stuck behind Danny this entire race. Needed that overtake as quickly as possible and got it immediately as Mikey now looks for the move on Danny. He definitely caught me by surprise. Must have caught Danny by surprise, who somehow manages to defend that attack. And Mikey remains in 5th. Danny remains in 4th. But 2 of the 3 championship protagonists giving it everything, while Meloon has his own little scrap to try and stay in second place. And if I'm seeing this right, the rain has stopped, ladies and gentlemen. Samuel still chasing after Meloon. And it just looks like that straight line speed of Meloon is keeping him ahead. Jay in the chat saying the stream's really laggy. I'm watching the stream on my phone, Jay, and it doesn't seem to be lagging at all. So maybe try and refresh the stream. As look at this. Into Cop's corner. Surely 2 into 1 can't go. Meloon with a little bit of a moment again. Samuel runs wide and onto the grass. And these two having a great scrap for second place as Luful retires from the session and the safety car is deployed. I can't see any cars stopped on track, but Luful is out of the race. The safety car comes out then, and surely people will be into the pits, but what will they box for? The rain has stopped here at Silverstone. The track's still very, very wet, but the rain has stopped. So will they elect for the slick tyres? Will it be a new set of inters? We thought the rain was going to stop around lap 16, lap 17. Well, lap 12, there is no more rain falling from the sky. Milk comes into pit then. And what tyres will he be going on to? It's slick tyres, the hard compound. For TMS Milk, the first man to call for the slicks, as Woody has stayed out on the inters. Will he be taking the lead of this race though, as Milk gets the loud pedal down? Woody does lead this race. What's happened to Samuel? It says Meloon out of the pit lane, puts the power down on the slick compound tyres, goes into the wall and picks up damage. But what has happened to Samuel? It now says he's in 20th, 2 minutes behind Zany. What is going on here? So it's, oh no, it's now righted itself. Samuel in third ahead of Meloon, who is surely going to have to come in to repair that front wing. He just put the power down as now Samuel's been off the road under the safety car. Meloon retakes third place. It doesn't look like Samuel's got any damage, but what is going on here? Nearly everyone onto the slick tyres. Only Muller and Woody are still on the inters. Woody stayed out to take the lead. Muller has come into the pits for the intermediate tyres. Samuel running off the road on the mediums under the safety car. Meloon, he got the power down. Coming out of the pit lane, straight into the wall he went. He won't lose as many positions as if he would, as everyone was bunched up under the safety car. But Meloon will lose positions here. He's not being called into the pit lane, is Meloon. Will he maybe try and brave this out with that damage? It looks like pretty significant damage from the front wing. And Meloon is coming into box then, so that will release Samuel in third place, and that's second. It didn't look like Samuel got any damage. He stayed out, and Samuel, no, doesn't have any front wing damage. Meloon comes into pit then, and is going to lose a whole host of positions. It's one of the longest pit lanes on the calendar here, Silverstone. Onto another set of the hard compound tyres. The new front wing goes on to the Cadillac car. And we know Meloon is quick, but is going to have a mighty comeback to do here. Was running second and was looking great to potentially even take the championship lead here. But now, down in 12th place, will emerge in 12th place and has it all to do, while Danny and Mikey are 4th and 5th. Samuel on the medium compound tyres is definitely going to be one to watch. Milk has still got to get past Woody, and if this track is still a little bit damp, Woody may run away with this for the first couple of laps after the safety car, and Samuel on the mediums may be able to try and challenge Milk. Samuel does have that 3-second penalty, and it'll be much harder to pull a gap in dry conditions because of the overtake mode. And I thought this race would be full of chaos as Zany is out of the race. I believe that's going into the pit lane for Zany. Jay saying, is it just me or does it look weird not seeing Danny in a Red Bull? I mean, I've become quite accustomed to seeing him in the Williams, to be honest. I think it's more weird to see Milk in an Audi. You know, you expect people like Mikey and Blake to be an Alpine, Ferrari for life in a Haas, Tesco Mildeals in a Ferrari. Milk in an Audi does look a bit odd, I must say, as Zany has left the session, and that ends the torrid day for Red Bull, both of them out. Lap 15 of 26 then. We are under the safety car after Luffel's Red Bull crashed out of this race. It's UFRL Woody that will lead when Bernd Mailander's safety car comes into the pit lane. TMS Milk will run in second and will be the highest of the dry compound runners. Samuel, one of only 2 men on the mediums. Daryl, the only other man on medium compound tyres. Safety car, I doubt it will be in this lap as Muller and Darrell will still have quite a way to go. Catch the safety car, but the safety car is in this lap, so Darrell and Muller going to be at a real disadvantage here unless they can catch up. They're just coming towards Luffield. Jay asking to see the position gains. Big gainer in this race. Ferrari for life up 15 places. Meloon down 10. In terms of penalties, it's 3 seconds for Samuel, Meloon, Blake, Macho Wings, Sidemen, and Muller. Everyone else remaining penalty free for the moment. So when does Woody decide to go? He goes now, gets the power down as Milk tries to go with him, but has a massive moment on the slicks. This track is not ready for dry tyres yet, and Woody flying clear. At the start, you can see Milk really struggling. Samuel on the medium compound tyres as Mikey goes through on Danny. Now look at Joe trying to get past the championship leader. Forced onto the grass and then onto the curb. Gets a bad exit. Danny keeps the position. But Samuel on the medium compound tyres surely will be looking to get a run at Milk. We've got a yellow flag at the back, and that's for Jonathan down the main straight. As Tesco Mildeals also looks like he's had a moment, has been off onto the grass. But look how clear Woody's gone, 5.3 seconds. And if this track remains wet, Woody might get a full pit stop advantage ahead of Milk and Samuel here. You can see through the corners how slowly Milk and Samuel have to go. F1 Mikey Boy looking very confident in these conditions though. Almost reminding me of Jenson Button in changeable conditions. Who do you want? It looks like F1 Mikey Boy, who goes up into third place. Yellow flag at the back. It looks like that may have been for Daryl, as Mikey now looks to challenge Milk. And this is astonishing stuff. We're not even a lap done under the safety car. Well, since the safety car's been in. And Woody is 9 seconds clear. Yellow flag for one of the Haas drivers. That looks like, I believe that was Ferrari for life, or it might have actually been the Cadillac of Melun or Kian as Blake gets through on Drew. But look at Mikey Boy as Milk goes off the road, completely off the road, and Mikey is through into second place. Samuel comes into the pit lane as he maybe got damage. But Woody, if this track stays wet, as Jonathan really struggling in these conditions, Woody might get a full pit stop ahead of the slick runners and be able to box himself and get out in the lead. As Milk, you can see, look how much Milk is struggling, drifting through Stowe Corner. Danny's also having the same problems. Look at Nova Piper in 5th place. And Nova Piper looking like he's got so much more grip than the championship leader. You can see Danny skating around everywhere. Nova just needs to try and find a bit of track to try and get past him. The track is getting drier, but the gap between Woody and Mikey now 15 seconds. Here comes Nova Piper. Sam has gone onto the intermediate tyres, as has Jonathan. And that is a very interesting strategy call. Maybe they think it's going to stay wet. We've still got about 10 laps left of this Grand Prix for it to go back to slick tyres. As Mikey pulling clear of Milk. Woody pulling clear of everyone. 2 laps since the safety car came in. 18.5 seconds clear. Woody is absolutely flying. And could this be a tactical masterclass as Danny goes very wide? Nova Piper gets the position. Joe gets the position as well. And Danny, the championship leader, tumbling like a sack of bricks here. 19 seconds is the gap. You can see Woody just going through Stowe. Mikey just going through the club chicane. The loss for a pit stop here, I believe, is about 27 seconds, I want to say. Muller gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Drew's also into the pit lane as well. The track getting ever drier, but Woody with the call of the century, it would seem. Danny gets back past Joe and up into 5th place. As F1 Mikey Boy now picks up a 3-second time penalty through Maggots and Beckett's. The gap 22.8 seconds between himself and the Mercedes-Benz of Woody. Ferrari for life gets past his teammate Joe and up into 6th. And you can see all of them struggling so badly, just wrestling the car, trying to keep it on the road. And Woody now out in front by 25 seconds. And as the laps keep ticking down, lap 19 of 26, Woody is a pit stop ahead of Mikey. But the thing is, he doesn't need to come into pit. He's still gaining. He could stay out for an extra lap when he's losing time and still be ahead of Mikey if he came into pit. Woody has bought himself that luxury and surely is on course for a Grand Prix victory. Blake picks up a 3-second time penalty. Humbled right on the back as Samuel looks to try and get through on Joe. And Samuel switching to the intermediate tyres. He was 19th at one point. He's now in 9th and now make that 8th as he goes past Blake with a very bold move. And has Samuel maybe played a blinder here as well? Look at the confidence he's got round the outside of Stowe Corner on Humboldt and up into 7th. Now looking to try and get through on Ferrari for life. And Samuel may have played an absolute blinder here in switching back to the Inters. Look, he just breezes past Ferrari for life and up into 6th. Next car is championship leader Danny. Sidemen picks up a 3-second time penalty. Yellow flags are flying. That's for Tesco Mildeals out of the final corner as Samuel right on the back of Danny towards Luffield we go. Look how much later on the brakes he can be. The gap between Woody and Mikey now over 30 seconds, half a minute. This is reminiscent of Lewis Hamilton back in, what was it, 2007, 2008, when he won the British Grand Prix by over a minute. And this is dominant stuff from UFRL Woody. Samuel also looking to get involved as well. 1.4 seconds behind Nova Piper. Will then have TMS Milk to get past. Then it's about 4.5 seconds to get to the back of F1 Mikey Boy. But Samuel absolutely flying as well. He runs off the road through turn 1. Obviously has that 3-second penalty. But look at the grip he's got. Straight past Nova Piper. Now we'll look for the move on TMS Milk as towards Stowe Corner we go. Drew sets the fastest lap of the race on intermediate tyres as Samuel gets through, or does he? He's gaining on Milk. Samuel does have front wing damage that I didn't notice. Such is the grip difference between the slicks and the Inters. As straight through, look at Samuel go back up into the podium places. Runs very wide and over the sausage curb. And look at Nova Piper. Opportunist move. Moves up into 3rd. Samuel will take that position back. But Nova gets past and through on TMS Milk. Samuel now has 5 laps to try and chase down F1 Mikey Boy. Yellow flags are flying. That's for Jonathan once again on the intermediate tyres. Interestingly enough, really struggling in this race. Currently in 18th. Gap between Mikey and Woody, 35 seconds. And you can see the gap between Samuel and Mikey tumbling. Samuel has played an absolute blinder in this race to get back onto the intermediate tyres very early. And this is surely going to give him 2nd place in this race, unless this track significantly dries up. .3 seconds, the gap between Samuel and Mikey. Woody isn't gaining away as much at this point of the race. Samuel isn't gaining as much. Darrell sets the fastest lap of the race on intermediate tyres. So it's maybe coming back towards Mikey, but the Inters still are quicker. But with 5 laps to go, Woody surely cannot be caught. He's in the final sector. Mikey is just coming through Cops. And this is going to be one of the most dominant victories we have seen in WRC history. Samuel running in 3rd isn't really gaining on F1 Mikey Boy now. And the problem is 3.4 seconds behind Samuel is Nova Piper. And Samuel, with that 3-second penalty, cannot afford to really lose any time for the Mercedes driver. Blake gets a 3-second time penalty. Samuel is gaining on Mikey. The gap now 1.4 seconds. But it is looking like the hards are now the better tyre in this race. The gap now 33 seconds. Mikey is gaining back towards Woody, but has nowhere near enough time to try and get the lead of this race. 1.8 seconds the gap. Obviously, Samuel has that damage as well, and Nova Piper getting very close to taking this final podium position away from Samuel. Yellow flags were flying. That was for Jonathan again. You can see the gap coming down between Mikey and Woody, and I'm sure the Alpine engineers will be screaming at Mikey, give it absolutely everything. At least give yourself a chance to maybe try and win this race. If I were Woody, I would come into the pit lane, and Woody is coming in to the pit lane to try and secure himself victory here at the Reverse British Grand Prix. Woody comes in for a set of the dry tyres. It's the medium tyres, interestingly, not the softs. For Woody, as now the straight mode and boost is enabled. So the overtake boost is now a thing. Mikey sets the fastest lap of this race. Woody's just coming out the pit lane. Through turn one, Mikey goes, but he's spun it round. He manages to save it. Could have come out of the pit lane ahead of Woody, may still even do so. This is very close on the exit, and Mikey does have the lead of the British Grand Prix. He's got a 3-second penalty. Woody's on the medium compound tyres. But Mikey, he could have been clear without that moment through turn one. He's still got the lead of this race, and you can see Woody is going to struggle in the opening couple of laps of this stint for him. And Mikey gaining away. You could not call this if you tried. .8 seconds, the gap between Woody and Mikey. Nova Piper has made his way up into third place. We've got yellow flags flying as massively into the wall there goes Muller. We've got a virtual safety car deployed. Ferrari for life also involved in that incident. And that was a big crash there for Muller's Ferrari. He is out of this race. That neutralizes the Grand Prix. And I don't believe Woody has won a race in WRC. So looking for his first Grand Prix victory. We are back to green flag racing then. Ferrari for life picks up a 3-second time penalty. The gap between Mikey and Woody, 2.1 seconds. And Woody needs to pray that those medium tyres start giving him grip anytime soon. Ferrari for life, 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Retires from the race. 2 seconds is the gap then. Mercedes versus Alpine. Mikey versus Woody. It's a Mercedes 2-3 at the minute with Nova Piper in third. Drew Larrard gets a 10-second penalty for corner cutting as Macho and Daryl are in the pit lane. Woody is starting to gain on F1 Mikey boy though. Can Nova Piper try and snatch away second place from Mikey and make this a Mercedes-Benz 1-2? Toto Wolff will be on the edge of his seat screaming at both of his drivers to push on, get within the 3 seconds, take this as a Mercedes 1-2. Mikey has given himself the opportunity. He says the fastest lap of the race. Woody usurps that fastest lap of the race immediately. We'll look at the gap to leader. Nova Piper needs about half a second on F1 Mikey Boy to try and take the victory. The best chance of him doing that is Woody catching Mikey and starting to fight with him. But does he have the pace? Does he have the grip to do so? 1.4 seconds to gap as we make our way down the hangar straight and towards Beckett's corner. UFRL Woody is gaining on F1 Mikey Boy, but we are on the penultimate lap of this reverse British Grand Prix. Does he have the time to get with him? He's now within the overtake boost. If he can stay within that gap, he will get him. But Nova Piper is beginning to fall back into the clutches of TMS Milk. Drew Larrard retires from this race in the pit lane. That leaves us with what, 16 drivers left in this race. Woody gaining, Nova losing. Woody going for a first career victory in WRC as he gains towards the back of F1 Mikey Boy's Alpine. He took the gamble with the strategy and it is paying off so far, but we have still got a lap to go in this British Grand Prix and Mikey is pulling out of the overtake boost. Woody did get it though. He was within the gap when he needed to be as we move on to the final lap of the reverse British Grand Prix. And what a Grand Prix it has been. And it leaves Mikey and Woody at the front of the field. Mikey with the 3-second penalty. Woody with the call of the century to stay on the intermediate tyres. He pulled a 35-second gap over the Alpine man. And you can see Mikey has ran out of battery. Can Woody try and gain? Towards Beckett's corner we go. Mikey giving it everything with the battery. Woody trying to gain on him. He wants to win this on track. He's got the pace. Towards Cop's corner we go. Mercedes versus Alpine. Woody leads here in Britain. And it is an overtake worth it in the Hall of Fame. Woody takes the lead on the final lap of the British Grand Prix. And it's going to be the overtake that sees him to the top step of the podium. Milk and Nova Piper still doing battle as well for the final podium place. But for Woody, he made the call of the century to stay out on the inters when the track was wet. He pulled the gap. He pitted when he needed to. This is going to be a generational first career victory for UFRL Woody in WRC. There's nothing Mikey can do about it. Silverstone rises to their feet for one of the most dominant performances in WRC history. Woody wins the reverse British Grand Prix. It's F1 Mikey Boy that comes home in second place. Nova Piper rounds off a double Mercedes podium. TMS Milk in fourth after leading and dominating for so long in the rain. Danny in fifth place, the championship leader. Meloon comes home in sixth. And that is a very good recovery from Meloon. Blake finishes in seventh for Alpine with Joe in eighth and Sidemen in ninth place. Humboldt will finish in 10th with Kian in 11th. Samuel finishes in 12th with Macho Wings in 13th place. Daryl, finishes in 14th, and it will be Tesco Mildeals in 15th place with Jonathan in 16th. Drew Ferrari for life. Muller, Zaney, Lufel and Best Noah did not reach the flag. But UFRL Woody, take a bow, my friend. That is one of the most incredible strategies I have ever seen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we said there'd be fireworks, we said there'd be chaos, and it turned into one of the greatest races we have seen in WRC today. Woody wins the Reverse British Grand Prix. If you are new to the WRC Twitch channel, make sure you are following down below. That was a race worth watching. Once again, if you're watching that and you're not following, honestly, don't ever watch an F1 League Racing stream again, because you will not get much better than that. My name's been Jack. I've been your commentator. A pleasure to bring you the action tonight. What a race that was. And we will see you on Friday for the F2 division. No, we will see you tomorrow. I correct myself.